Just ready for some SRT 120% by my boy Elk.
What's up?
This is the final block of the event. We're going to do some SRT full completion. You got 120, 100%, 117. You got all 337. It's going to be sick. This is a sick category. Elk's really good at it. So whenever you're ready, man.
Yeah, sure.
It's a beautiful view. Did you break the height cap here?
Yes, this is the height cap. You can literally, that's the highest point you can reach that I've found. Anyway, let's get into the run.
Have fun, dude.
Thank you. All right, so Spyro 120%. So I guess without further ado, let's just get started. You guys ready on time? I'm gonna assume it's a yes, but I'm gonna count down. So 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so Spyro 120%. Of course, the full completion category of the first Spyro game. This is also known as the best Spyro category. Don't at me. Because it just is. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Hello? Alright, so straight off the bat here, we're actually not going to get an Esther here. We're going to go straight into Stonehill, because this route is slightly faster. And we have a very long loading screen here, which is, annoyingly enough, also random how long this loading screen takes. Can be a bit annoying if you really want to get a gold split on Stonehill. So we'll see here. This is a long load, so rip gold. Anyway. So the 120% category, we are of course going to get everything in the game, or everything we need in the game, which is 14,000 gems, 80 dragons, and 12 eggs. So starting off here, Stonehill is fairly straightforward level. I usually call it the most boring level in the run. It's the level that keeps me from resetting all the time, even though I still do it. Because, yeah, there's just not really much to Stonehill here, so, you know, it just gets annoying when you are on one of those days where you end up playing Stonehill over and over. So, I guess we can point out that this ride is actually pretty different compared to the one you would see in the original game. In the original game, you would go into Sunny Flight first, but in SRT, it is slightly faster to do this other route here, where Stonehill first, because we actually have the guidebook, which we can use after Town Square. But I'll talk more about that when we get to it. So, coming up here is the first thief here. The thieves are the guys with the eggs here, so we are gonna do a very sharp turn here, go a little bit to the right, and then bait him to go to the left. And then we can, if we turn hard enough there, we can just barely manage to flame him there. If you really want to save even more RTA time, you can do a jump there to skip the animation, but I usually don't do that because I always mess it up and it gets really annoying at the start of every run, so I'll just play it safe and flame him like that. And also the good thing about Spyro 120% is there's no backtracking, because every level you enter, you can get everything as soon as you are in it. So pretty much I'm gonna go into every level, get everything, and then get out. So coming up here is gonna be the end of the level. You're also gonna notice that I'm gonna exit using the menu. That's because it allows us to exit whenever we want with a level, which gives a lot more freedom when it comes to routing. I missed a 2 gem there, so just gonna pick this up and then don't quit. We're gonna exit. You won't believe the amount of times I've reset it because I hit quit instead of exit there. But you don't actually have to exit through the return home ball. You can just use the menu to quit like that. And then we're gonna start working our way to Town Square here, first clearing up some gems on the way. So here's the thing to point out. We're actually going to get all the gems here outside of the portal for Town Square because, like I said earlier, we are actually going to use the guidebook to leave Times Square once we're done with it. Which means we do have to get all the gems here before we leave. Or before we enter, sorry. Because we're not going to come out the portal the normal way. Whoa. Was that a bad angle? And into Town Square we go. So I think I guess I could point out, should anybody in the stream right now have any like questions or something, then feel free to post them in the chat, because I am watching the chat during this run. So Town Square here, a little bit more of a tricky level here. You could say this kind of has a cycle you want to reach at the end. So obviously you want to make as few mistakes as possible. So in order to get that cycle to line up with the bulls at the end, because some of the bulls are moving around chasing the matadors. And right here you're gonna see an instance of me going straight to the dragon here, and then Spyro picking up the gems, doing the little walkback sequence there when he goes to his spot where he stands while he talks to the dragons. So in the remastered version here, or SRT version, Spyro or Spox actually picks up the gems while the cutscene is going on, meaning that we can hit the dragon and then walk back into some gems instead of having to pick up the gems before the dragon. So right here we're gonna have our first fan chest here. You're gonna notice I'm gonna angle it so it breaks a box to my left. When you fire up the fan chest there, you can it actually sends out the top of the fan chest as like a projectile. And you can use that to break boxes, and it's very convenient because it also makes the boxes home in. And then as soon as we get not miss the last gem, we're gonna fast travel using the guidebook back to Artisans. Because whenever you use the guidebook to fast travel anywhere, it's gonna place you at the start point at that level. And for Artisans, it's very convenient because it just happens to leave you right here at the start with Nestor. And we're actually gonna skip the Nestor cutscene because it just so happens that if you are on an upwards momentum when you touch Nestor, you can skip the cutscene for some reason. And then into Sunny Flight. So sadly for all the OG runners, I know OG runners likes to hear Nestor talks at the beginning of every run. We don't actually have to hear it here, so. And here comes Sunny Flight. This route for Sunny Flight that I'm personally using was discovered by a Crash Bandicoot runner from Uruguay called Cameron Vengeance. So we gotta be very fast here at the start to make sure we hit a specific plane cycle here. And also in flight levels, you of course fly faster the lower you are to the water, which is a thing most people don't know about. So I'm gonna try my best to stay close to the water so I can get these planes to line up here at the end, and that was very well executed. This is also the level where we had the great challenge from the developers to see who could beat it the fastest. I forgot who actually won that challenge, but there was a challenge where you could win like a scooter and a Nintendo Switch if you had like the fastest completion time of this flight. I believe the world record for this flight is like a 107.8, which I'm not gonna get nowhere close to, but this should be like a 111, I think. Yeah, 111, that's fairly solid actually. So that's our first flight level done. And of course, the flight levels gives us 300 gems, and in this category we have to get all the gems. So right here there's a thief. As long as you always move in the same pattern, the thief is always going to behave the same. So the thieves are actually very consistent, even though if you don't notice what you're doing, they can seem a bit random in terms of which direction they go, but as long as you take the same path, he's gonna go the same path every time. Also, when it comes to the thief, he has some invisibility frames, but you can flame him as soon as he starts back his running animation after he stops tumbling. So you also gotta time your flaming with that, so you don't accidentally flame into his invincibility frames. And now we are in Dark Hollow here. We're gonna wait a second here, see what this guy does. And I butchered that, so it's gonna be a bit of an issue, but I can flick behind that guy. That's like the backup strat there. If you come late to the second guy, so he's running to watch you, if you take a quick step to the left and then turn hard to the right, you can get behind him and then flick behind his back and flame him like that. It's a bit tricky the first time you do it, but it's a nice backup when you get it. And it looks pretty cool, kind of baiting him out like that. But of course, if you just do it correctly the first time, you don't have to learn that backup. Also, Dark Hollow here is the level in Artisans where we're actually gonna finish using the return home portal, which you're gonna see here at the end. Because in order to unlock the next level, which is Toasty, I have to wait for the red gem to come back down. You have to exit through a return home portal, and it just needs to be any of the three from the previous levels, and Dark Hollow is just the most convenient one routing wise. And right here we're gonna do these jumps here to get back up, so we don't only have to take the staircase once. Of course, want to avoid the stairs because staircases are relatively slow in this game. And clear out the gems and jump into the return home portal. So right here we can flick the camera with using L2 if you're using the reignited control scheme. Oops. To just turn around the camera instantly. It's very inconvenient to have because it makes it a lot easier to see where you're going. That's one of the reasons why I really like using the reignited controls. I know most people probably prefer the OG controls, but I like using the reignited because it gives me the L2 button where I can just flip the camera. You'll probably notice me whenever I've done U-turns on this run that the camera flips instantly. So here's Toasty. This is the level with the absolute worst enemies in the game. These dogs here, which for some reason takes two hits to kill. And you'll notice that I jump on the second hit for most of them. The reason for that is because they also have a little bit of invincibility frames after you flame them the first time. So by jumping, you can see they jump immediately after you hit them the first time. It just makes sure the jump just makes sure that it's easier to get the second hit on them, so he doesn't accidentally jump over your flame while he's still technically invincible. And also, it's very important that I don't lose any health here, or at least keep blue sparks, because we need blue sparks to do a skip here coming up in the next homeworld, right after this. So preferably we want to stay with yellow sparks throughout this level, so that's why these dogs can be very annoying. It's very easy to back up if you get hit, because there's plenty of sheep on the way to the balloonist, but preferably we don't want to do that. So we managed to keep yellow sparks. That's gonna make the skip in Peacekeepers a lot easier, because we need to take some damage in order to perform this skip coming up. So now we're almost done here with the first homeworld, Artisans, which I'm sure many people remember from the good old demo discs. That's at least how I remember Artisans a lot, because I used to have a demo disc back on PS1 where you could play for Artisans. So, as I said here at Peacekeepers, we're gonna do a skip here at the very beginning of the level in order to get into Night Flight early. And that way we can do the backside of Peacekeepers at the very beginning here. But like I said, it does require us to take damage. So you're gonna see here in a bit, we're gonna abuse some of the hitboxes that are located here in the sea of, or the puddle of goo, or whatever it is, right here. So we're gonna collect some of the gems on the way, and use this little volcano here to do a jump, glide as close as we can, and then we can jump up here, and then we'll make our way straight into Night Flight here. Thanks. Is the start the only difference between OG and reignited speedruns route-wise? No, there are some other differences, but the most noticeable one is definitely the Artisans routing at the beginning. Sorry I missed the question earlier. So here again, another flight. This time Night Flight. Of course, we want to get all 4 of the... Well, there's basically 8 things, or 4 things you need to do, and 8 of them in every flight. And once again, you're gonna see me go up and down, because, like I said in Sunny Flight, the closer you are to the ground, the faster Spyro actually flies. So you kind of want to go up and down all that. But there's some risk-reward, of course, to it, since obviously if you hit the water, the flight is over, and that also usually means that your run is over, because failing a flight challenge actually loses you quite a bit of time of having to redo it again. And by the way, I don't remember who found the routes for the other flight levels. I'm sorry, but I only remember the Sunny Flight one, so if you found one of the routes in the in the other flight levels, then feel free to let me know. But yeah, in case people were wondering why I didn't call it out this time. Right here, I'm gonna try to get a bunny here, because I don't want to do the next level with just green sparks, because I want to do a damage abuse on that level. And there's not gonna be any butterflies until after the next level. Yeah, come on, get up there. You also notice there that some spring chests, I'm gonna hit 2 of them at once in order to basically get rid of 2 spring chests while only hitting or doing 1 flame. That was not the cleanest movement, but we made it. So if some spring chests are close enough together, you can flame them and then get 2 for 1. Or if you're really good, there are some levels where you can even get a 3 for 1. Wizard Peaks comes to mind. I don't remember if there are other ones you can go for. So now we have a dry canyon here. Sadly, even though they kept the fan chest thing here alive with the fan chest popping up like that, unfortunately in Reignited it doesn't fly high enough to hit the guy upstairs there, like you can do in OG. Because it actually used to be a really funny thing in OG where you hit that fan chest and you could kill that guy any step would kind of be delayed. Yeah, I'm sure you saw it in the OG run we had yesterday. So Dry Canyon here is pretty much a fairly straightforward level. There's not really much to it. I got pushed really far out there by the hitboxes. Right after this dragon here, I'm gonna pick up the key, and then this glide here can be a bit tricky because there's a very annoying hitbox right there. There was that spike on the tower there, and that spike is actually... this hitbox of that spike is a lot bigger than you think. So it's very easy to bonk on it and fall to your death. And here we're gonna do a very specific turn here to make the thief line up like that. So we can grab him. Unfortunately, right there, I flamed a little too late, so I wasn't able to get the thief while being mid-air. Because if you kill a thief while being mid-air, you can skip the cutscene there. Of course, it doesn't really matter, because leaderboards are just judged by in-game time, at least for console. And in-game time actually doesn't count during cutscenes, so there's that. But if you care more about RTA, like I personally do, then going for those cutscene skips are worth it. Or if you're running on PC, you also should go for them, because the loadless timer doesn't count cutscenes. Because, in case you don't know, loading or timing for the leaderboards are different between the PC and console version. So coming up here, you're gonna see the damage abuse I was talking about. I'm actually gonna do a damage abuse on this fireworks chest here, because when you hit the fireworks chest, all the gems will kind of home in. Whereas normally if you would hit just flame it, you would have to wait for all the gems to kind of pop out, and then you had to pick them up afterwards. So it actually saves a lot of time if you're able to bonk on the fireworks. So you're gonna see me do that a good amount of times throughout this run. Bonk into fireworks to get all the gems to home in immediately. And then we're gonna head straight into Clifftown here. Really, Sparks? You're not gonna pick that up? I'm telling you guys, Sparks have definitely gotten lazy over the past 20 years. Or at least in Reignited, Sparks is a lot slower at picking up gems, because there are certain times where you think you can run through a field of gems and Sparks will do all the work, but, you know, sometimes Sparks is just going to leave one behind. So you better pay attention to the gems here. So Clifftown here is one of the levels where we are definitely not going to do any of the intended ways of doing this level. This is supposed to be like the level where you glide everywhere. You just saw the first skip here, which is jumping behind this and getting all the gems there. In this level, you are technically supposed to go to the very top of the hill and glide to all the rooftops. But we're actually only going to do that once, because it takes an awful lot of time to get up top of that hill. So we have some skips to get on top of the rooftops. Gonna see another one here. I'm gonna turn around, do a charge jump there, and then we get up here. Then we can do another jump here to activate this rocket. And then we hit this thief. Notice that I flame him before I hit the ground, so there's no cutscene. And then these cauldrons here, we have to wait for the gem to become active, because Sparks does not pick it up until the gem is like underground. So Clifftown is like probably one of the first really hard levels when it comes to platforming, because of these skips you do. Right there, there's a nice flick to hit both of the fat mammers and both of the cauldrons at the same time. So you can see all 4 gems are right there by only using 1 flame. If you do a flick precisely enough, you're able to do that there. Because of the way the flame works with Spyro is that as long as the flame is kind of visual, it does damage. So if you turn Spyro while he's flaming, the area of effect with the flame becomes a lot bigger, giving you that the ability to do those flicks to hit multiple things with 1 flame. So there you saw the intended jump there, where we actually glided to a rooftop. So that's the only time we did the intended way. Normally you had to glide from there to get to all of the rooftops, but we just kind of skipped that. Because, you know, it's very slow, and then... Oh. Sometimes the boxes can be weird, and you can just run by, or the boxes kind of push you off even though you're touching them, but it doesn't count as you breaking them for whatever reason. You have to hit the chest very precisely, I would say. So right here, we're gonna use this cannon here. Gonna get it to fire at those 3 boxes, because then it's a lot easier to pick those gems up before Shen. And then take care of the middle boxes here. Because that way Sparks can pick up those 3 gems really fast. And we can enter Shem pretty fast. So Dr. Shemp here is one of the shortest levels in the run. It's actually a boss level, like Toasty from earlier. This time you're probably gonna notice the boss fight a little bit more. Spyro 1 is not exactly known for its boss fights, at least not in the good sense. Because they just feel like big enemies. You also notice that these, I don't know what to call them, the runners, just run past me. Or some of them will. It's because when they die, the gem automatically homes in, so some of them we can just simply skip like that. And the gem will eventually come when they commit suicide. Also, the good thing about 120% here is when it comes to gems and stuff, you don't really have to worry about what the value of a gem is, because you have to get anything anyway. There's a nice little swag roll there into the dragon. So it doesn't matter if it's a 25 gem or a red gem, you have to get it anyway. And here's Dr. Shemp, by the way. This boss, you basically just have to flame his butt, and he runs off to the next place. If you want to save a little bit of frames on Dr. Shemp there, it's just important that you flame him like right before he turns around. Because like I said earlier, you know, the flame stays active as long as it's on the screen. So if you flame him as soon as he starts turning around, that means the flame is gonna hit him as soon as his butt is within field of view. And it's all about saving those precious frames. And into Ice Cannon we go, the last level of Peacekeepers. This is also one of my favorite levels in the run, because, I don't know, when it comes to speedrunning this, I just feel like Ice Cannon is such a satisfying level to do. Because of the way it's laid out or something. It's hard to describe, whenever I get a perfect ice cavern, it just feels so satisfying. You'll also notice that throughout the run, whenever there's been big enemies, as soon as I flame them, I jump up. That's because when you kill a big enemy, the gem kind of pops out from the middle of them. And Sparks doesn't pick up gems until they are on the ground. Or for the most part, Sparks doesn't pick them up until they're on the ground. So when it comes to big enemies, it's faster to do that little jump whenever you kill the big ones. So you can snatch the gem out of the air. Because otherwise you would have to wait for it to be stationary on the ground. Also, Ice Cavern has these things you need to bonk on in order to get the gems down. We're gonna skip that big guy because we're gonna come back here, but first we need to yeet ourselves this cliff because we're gonna do a little suicide or intentional suicide. Because whenever you die in this game, you are placed back to the very last dragon you killed, but we still have the key, so which means we can go up here and unlock the key chest. So you don't actually lose keys whenever you suicide, so that makes that suicide worth it to do. And then we have these big guys we need to knock off the edge, because we cannot kill them simply with a charge. I am missing a gem. Did I say the very last dragon you killed? I'm sorry. This is not Skyrim. This is Spyro. My bad. The last dragon we freed. They don't die, guys. Sorry. My bad. Must have mistaken this game for God of War. Or Skyrim or something. Right here we can actually... Whoa! I accidentally held X for too long there. And kind of messed up the jumps there across that. But still got to show it off a little bit. But if you time your charge jumps throughout that section of pillars there, you can... you can get to move across them pretty fast. There we go. We go off a little bit to the left there so we get that red gem. As soon as we pick up the last one, we are out of here. It's not the best Ice Cavern. Bunch of small mistakes, but small mistakes quickly add up in a run like this. You might have noticed that Spyro 1 here is, I guess you would call it fairly glitchless, or as close as possible to one would call intended gameplay. So, it's a very easy run to learn how to do, because there's not really any hard tricks you have to spend too much time on learning. There are a few, but you could say they're not really that necessary to perform the running. But it's all about mastering, you know, with Spyro and getting very comfortable with it, so you can speed up all the small details in the run. And now we're gonna go into Magic Crafters, which is by far the worst homeworld, because all my runs that gets to Magic Crafters tend to die because of this very first level, which is Alpine Ridge. Alpine Ridge is a very annoying level in this run. I missed the thief. So we have to go back here to get the thief to appear again, and then we can do a jump like that to get him. That's what it was supposed to look like on first try, but just pretend it was. So like I said, next level coming up here is Alpine Ridge, which is, in my opinion, the first big run killer. And again here we're gonna use these fan chests. Oh, I messed up the fan chest, don't worry, there's a backup. Something like this. Gets him to pull it down for some reason. Normally I would hit him with the fan chester and in order to kill him, but in case you mess up the fan chest like I did there, you can just kind of do a U-turn on that edge there, and for some reason that gets him to drop down the gate or the ground. No, Magic Crafters is not the last homeworld. There's actually 3 more after this. So imagine how sad you feel whenever all your runs die in this level. Anyway, the reason why Alpine Ridge is annoying as a level is because if you just make the tiniest mistake in this level, you lose a ton of time. Because right here at the beginning of the level, there's a lot of cycles we need to hit, and they are pretty tight, so we basically need to go through this entire first section without making too many movement errors in order to catch the cycles. That's already a bunk. That's 2 bunks. I'm gonna miss it now. Oh, barely made it. But I'm still behind on the cycles, because that was only the first one, which was the easy one. So I'm gonna try to get through the rest of the section here without making mistakes, but that's of course a tough ask. And we made it to the staircase, and we even have to wait a little bit. Oops. But wait, there's more cycles. I could have went for that. So you can see just the tiniest mistakes just make sure that all these cycles right here are not gonna line up. But now we're done with all the cycles. But there's still the most annoying thing about this level, which comes up at the end, which is the thief. Because there's an egg thief at the very end here. Also, this gem is glitched out right here. You have to pick it up manually, even though you charge him. Because this game is well made. There's another bong on chest. So coming up here is the last thief. And in order to get him the fastest way possible, you have to basically line up pretty precise so you can do a sharp turn around the corner down here. Let's see if I get it. Got him. You can also just YOLO it and go for it, but I kind of prefer lining it up for like a second to make sure I'm running straight at the corner, so I can turn as sharply as possible and then flame coming around the corner in order to get that thief. And you don't want to miss that thief because you have to go around that little racetrack there for quite a long time. And then the swag strats at the end where you get to charge that box to get the gem to home in. So if you miss that thief, it usually costs you around 20-25 seconds. And also if you miss the cycles at the beginning, it's usually also another 20 seconds. So you can see how runs can easily die in Alpine Ridge. This thief is very easy. You just turn as soon as you go across the yellow flowers there. And then hit flame. And coming up here is a trick that's also used in the original version of Spyro. We're gonna use this little charge ramp here to speed up into this cave and break this key chest without the key. Because you don't actually need the key. If you supercharge into a key chest, you get all the gems as well. And it saves quite a lot of time because the key is at the very end of Magic Crafters. So you would need to do a lot of backtracking if you are to go for it. So coming up here is High Caves. This is another level where there's a cycle at the very beginning. So there's going to be a lot of fat wizards here at the start. which we have to make our way up this spiral mountain. Does the key despawn if you charge the chest? It does in the original game, I believe. But in SRT, I believe the key stays. But you cannot carry a key to another level. So even if you pick up the key, it's not like you could use it on a chest later, unfortunately. Even though that would be cool. So this is the cycle here at the beginning, is these 2 towers here. You want to make it onto the second tower, that's very nice. So it's very important you make up your way up that spiral mountain as fast as possible. So you can make sure you hit that cycle. Also, I want to be full health here, because there's a potential I need to bonk on these, like that. Or I have to bonk on at least one of them. So having as much health as possible there is preferred. Here's another thief. This thief, it's just important to get all the gems while you are chasing him, so if you have to turn around for any of the gems here, you're probably gonna miss the thief. And then of course flame early enough so you get the hit the thief before you hit the ground. So we skip the cutscene. And then use the supercharge to take care of these spiders here, or just the first one. We go down here to that second layer and turn around. That is to prevent a glitch from happening. Because if you go up here right away, that last spider there at the end will get stuck in a wall. But if you just go down there and do that little turnaround I did there, that makes sure the spider is not going to get stuck in a wall. And then we get the power up from the fairy here that makes us flame these spiders. And the reason why we don't want that spider to be stuck in the wall is because we need to be able to hit the spider here on the second super flame here. So we go here, and then we have to be pretty quick because we don't have all the time in the world with this super flame. So you can see the second spider is right there. If I hadn't done that turnaround, that spider would have been stuck in a wall at the very end of this cave, and you wouldn't be able to reach him with the super flame before it runs out. So you kind of have to manipulate the spider there, otherwise he gets stuck. Another one of the glitches in this game that are sadly not patched out. And then all that's left is to clean up the rest of the level here. Gonna do a nice little wall glide here to make sure we keep our height so we can just jump around that corner. And then we're gonna use the fan chest here to kill a thief off screen. You saw the egg home in right there. There was actually a thief to the left of me there. So me turning 90 degrees while flaming that fan chest made sure the fan hit the thief. And of course, after I flamed the fan chest, I did a large jump so that I was in mid-air when the fan hit the thief and skipping the animation. And then we go into Wizard Peak. So Wizard Peak here has a very cool trick. So anybody who has played the game casually probably knows that there's this secret path here to the left at the beginning of the level. Normally you have to take this path twice, but we can actually do a little skip to avoid having to do that. So we only have to go here once for all the gems. And you gotta be careful when you're running up here. These hitboxes with the walls here actually stick out quite a bit, and it's very easy to get pushed off the edge here and die. Sparks. Thank you. To be fair, that was not Sparks' fault. That was actually me missing the jump. That was a nice turnaround flick there. So you get both. Alright, so coming up here is the skip to get up to the second wizard, which you normally have to go around the secret path one more time to get up to, but we can actually do a little bit of a supercharged jump here using the slight elevation in the floor to get up here. Like that. Ooh, almost went too far. And that skips having to go around a second time. That actually saves quite a lot of time, so if you're interested in wanting 120%, you should definitely learn that skip. And also the backup, in case you missed the skip, because you're gonna miss it, trust me. And there's a quick backup you can do if you miss the skip. And then here's another suicide. To get back to the dragon we freed, not the one we killed. As far as I'm aware, we haven't killed any dragons yet. Oops. Wait, what am I doing? I don't know why I decided to turn around there. That's totally unnecessary. Anyway. Also in this level, there's a glitch that can happen with one of the gems. So it's very important you only die once with that suicide manip, because in this level, if you die twice, one of the gems won't spawn for some reason. I'm not sure why, don't ask me. So if I were to die again here, I would only have 407 gems going to this dragon. Because you see the big guy there in front of me? Normally there's a small enemy in front of him. But for some reason that enemy despawns when you die. And when you die, you're just given the gem. But if you die twice, you don't get the gem. So yeah, go figure. And I missed the trouble there. That was actually where you could get a trouble on the fan chest. To be fair, I also did a terrible job of going for it. And coming up next here is going to be another flight level here, which we are going to head to straight away. By the way, in the room to my right here is actually where the key was for that chest earlier, in case you're wondering. Well, the reason for other levels not having, or magic crafters being the last homeworld with eggs is because I guess the balloonists don't need eggs anymore at that point. So right here, we are going to flap our wings once, then we're going to drop down, turn around, and then line up all these planes for easy kills. And this route is very nice, because it's a bit of a pain to get those planes to line up if you don't do that trick there at the start. And also, be careful not to get too close to the water in this level. You'll notice the water in this level, compared to other flights, it has more of a wavy, or more waves, compared to the other flight levels. And if you actually hit one of those waves, you can get, it counts as you touching the water and the flight is over. So, so if you're too close to the water like you are on some of the other flights, you just get dragged down and die. And as soon as we come out of the level, we land on this dragon. It's unfortunate it's not like an OG where you can actually skip that dragon and still get him. And right here I am on... Gonna make sure I get another butterfly there before entering Blowhard, because I want to do the optimal strats. Which does require me to be on full health, because we're gonna do 2 damage abuses in this, which can be a bit tricky because it's very easy to lose health in this level. But if everything goes well, I should be able to pull it off. Because if I can do the first damage abuse here on the first fireworks chest, it makes it a lot easier to hit a cycle inside the cave here. So you're gonna see me here hit the fence or the fireworks from behind. Ah, I got hit by lightning. So yeah, that already messes up the second damage abuse I wanted to do, because you can't take any health, lose any health here. And now I didn't get the cave to line up either, because if you did it correctly, you wouldn't have to wait for like 2 seconds there. Then you could hit the earlier cycle. This is also the fastest level in the run. I believe it's actually both the fastest level in both 120 and any percent, but I could be wrong. And you also gotta be fast with Blowhard there, because if he gets up into the air there, you can't flame him. So it's important you are faster at the end. And now we're done with magic crafters. Alcove is quickest in any percent. Didn't think about that one, but I guess that's true. Especially with the PC strat, you can do North Cove any percent. For people wondering, there are some strats that are exclusive to the PC version, and vice versa. And in case you don't know, I'm playing on the PS4 version of the game. So now we enter Terrace Village. This is another cycle-based level, but at least in this level, you can, even if you miss a cycle, obviously there is one that's faster than the others, but you can kind of play around with the cycles to your benefit should you mess up and not hit the quickest cycle, due to the way the floors work here at the end of the level. But if we are just very quick here at the start of picking up everything, we... Oh, and don't bonk like that. We should be good at hitting the cycles. Ah, I missed that guy. And another bonk. So right here we're actually gonna do a jump, and I'm actually not sure, is this jump intended or not? Because it seems easy enough that you would think it's intended, but the way you do that jump, I'm actually not sure if that's intended or not, jumping across that gap there. Right. Gonna wait for Sparks for 1 sec there, because otherwise he usually misses that red gem on the ground. Alright, here I'm just gonna go for this guy immediately. Because otherwise I would have had to wait for another floor cycle there. And these last cycles should line up now. Like that. Sorry for not commentating here, I was just really focused there. And then you end that level with a bonk, because that brings good luck in the next level. That is my personal superstition when it comes to Spyro speedrunning. That if you can end a level with a bonk, you're gonna get good luck in the next level. So we'll see if that's true. I only hit one of the fireworks there. Guess we'll do a bonk. Shouldn't matter, because blue sparks into Misty Bug is fine. Because there's a butterfly at the very beginning. Of course, before Misty Bug, we need to go into Wild Flight. Which we're gonna find right down this hole. But, of course, in flight levels, you can't lose sparks, so... When you enter Wild Flight with blue sparks, you usually have that in Misty Bog as well. So Wild Flight, a lot of people probably consider this the hardest of the flight levels to do optimally. But I guess, depends. So we're gonna do a turnaround here at the very beginning here. And then we're gonna do a turn right here on this island to get this boat to line up. And if you do that correctly, all the boats and the gates right here should line up perfectly like they're doing right now. You also gotta be very careful in this level, because when you break these gates that we fly through, when the gate is broken, the debris from the gates does still have a hitbox. So if you're very unlucky, that debris can hit you and knock you in the water. The way I personally combat that is by making sure I'm not flying just above the water. That I'm actually a little above the water, so should the debris come from behind and hit me, I have a little bit of a chance to react to it. And now we go into Misty Bog, which is the second run killer of the run. This is another place where quite a lot of my attempts have come to end. So we'll see how it goes. And right there we have 50 dragons, so now technically we could complete the game if we wanted to. Because we have 50 dragons and over 6,000 gems. So if you want to complete the game without having to go through Misty Bog, you just have to complete everything before it. And a Misty Bog is of course known for having a good collection of very annoying enemies. It's probably the best way to put it. And also a lot of them. You can see here there's the butterfly at the start of the level. That's why going in with blue sparks is not really an issue, because you end up having yellow sparks anyway. And this is a little bit of an instance of RNG in this run. Those frogs jumping around, they are not always in the same spot, and I missed the blue gem right there. So you can see those guys didn't line up at all for me there. But sometimes they do, so if you're wondering if there's any RNG in this run, there is. And it's those frogs, because they're not always in the same position. And as far as I'm aware, nothing that I do is causing them to change their direction when they decide to jump around. So it's not something I seem to have an influence over. Alright, 192 hitting this dragon, so I didn't miss anything so far. You can also see there one of the frogs was to the far right there. If you're lucky, you can get the frogs to actually line up, and then the hawk kills all of them. And it's also very important that you don't lose too much health at the beginning of the level, because at the very end of this level, there's going to be quite a lot of enemies in a very little room. Where it's very easy to lose a lot of health if you're not careful, which you obviously aren't, because you're trying to do it as fast as possible. Usually those two things doesn't go hand in hand. That was some very clean movement there. And also these gems here are very annoying, because sometimes that yellow gem right there behind me, sometimes Sparks simply doesn't pick it up. So you can kind of jump off there thinking Sparks is gonna pick it up. But sometimes Sparks just completely ignores that gem. And then you just glide away and you can just see your run disappear into the distance. And here comes the very end of the level. Luckily for us, butterfly here at the very end, so we can go in with full health. But let's see if we can do the room without losing health anyway. Ooh, that was close. I'm not sure what I tried to do there. Oh well, still have blue sparks, so good enough. That means even if I was on green sparks, I wouldn't have died to that. And that's Misty Bug gone. That was a solid Misty Bug, I guess. The ending could have been a little cleaner, but everything else was pretty solid. So coming up next is probably the most iconic level of all of Spyro 1, which is Treetops. The level that everybody remembers spending hours on as a kid, or maybe even as an adult, trying to figure out how the hell you get to the final island, or one of the secret islands. Even though the game actually gives you a very big hint to what's the run, or the beginning of the level. Because this is the only level that actually has an intro cutscene that literally shows you the thief. And that's supposed to be a hint that you're supposed to follow the thief to figure out where you need to go. So there's really no excuse for not being able to figure out where to go in Treetops. You can see it right there. But of course, most people, they're too carried away by their greed and just wants to get all the gems. And then by the time they've collected all the gems, they have completely forgotten about the thief's existence. That's what greed does to people. And also, speedrunning wise, we're also gonna do some neat little... Hello, Sparks? Sparks. Are you guys seeing this right now? Thank you, Sparks. Somebody tweet that at Toys for Bob, please. Yes, that happens sometimes in this game, because it's well made. Anyway, what was I saying? We're gonna do some nice skips to avoid having to do the intended ways of getting to those secret islands. Because the intended ways are quite slow, so instead we're gonna do some little tricks abusing the way the supercharge works in this game. I guess that's a fair point, Toaster. So right here we are gonna do a little jump charge here to get the speed of the supercharge, and then we can do a turnaround and jump to the last island like that. And there's going to be another trick with a supercharge at the very end as well. That is slightly different to the one we just did. So right here, we're just going to clean this up. Get this guy. Careful not for him to push us down, because even though it's a small mistake, that actually loses a lot if he pushes you there. So coming up here is going to be the last supercharge, which we're going to use to get to the top of the last island here in Treetops. So we're going to do a little 360 here. Go as far left as you can, and then jump off the platform there with a 90-degree angle, and then jump at the very end of the ramp in order to get that 360 to work. Trust me, that trick requires a good amount of practice if you want to do it yourself in runs. Or at least for me, it took a decent amount of practice before I got comfortable with it. But the trick is to go as far enough to the left so you can leave the ramp with a 90-degree angle. And then on the second jump, you want to jump as late as possible off the ramp. And that way you get the maximum height there to reach the top. The top of Treetops. See what I did there? I'll leave myself out. And we go straight into Metalhead, which is the boss of Beastmakers here. So starting off in this level there, you can see these big monkeys are gonna throw these smaller monkeys. I think they're monkeys, but I'm not sure. That's my professional guess as to what they are. But that's gonna be important here in a bit, because normally when an enemy falls out of bound, you'll just get the gem. But one of the monkeys that are thrown in this level happen to hit a wall if he goes far enough. And I'm not sure why, but because of the way he hits the wall, the gem doesn't fall out of bounds. The gem clips into the wall, and thereby you can't collect it. And the only way you can get the gem is by either suiciding or re-entering the level. So that's a very sad way you can lose a run. It's on these two monkeys that are coming rolling towards you right here. So make sure you hit both of these guys, otherwise, like I said, one of the gems can clip into a wall and you won't be able to collect it. And that's a very annoying way to lose a run, trust me, because I've done that 3 or 4 times. So make sure you charge both of those guys coming towards you there. And then for Metalhead itself here, we have to break all these towers, or beacons, whatever they are. And the cycle is not always the same here, so... That was actually pretty good. Did he throw a guy? I guess he didn't. It kind of sounded like he threw a guy there, but I didn't see anything behind me. Whoa. But yeah, that cycle actually lined up pretty well. I didn't have to wait for any of the towers to turn green. And then the last one here, this cycle usually works out pretty well. You're just gonna make sure you jump there, otherwise you get hit by that enemy coming rolling at you. So if you always follow that path, usually you don't have to wait for any of the red towers if you do it fast enough. And there's another example of Sparks being a little slow compared to the original games. Because you kind of have to wait for Sparks to pick up the gems there. So in these 20 years, Sparks has just gotten really slow. Here you also have to slow down, otherwise Sparks is not going to be able to keep up. Whereas I believe in the original games, You can just run through patches of gems like that, and Sparks is definitely gonna take care of it. And there was another little bunk for good luck. And then all that's left to do is cleaning up the rest of these makers here. Before we head into my personal favorite homeworld in... That was a sad bunk. Ooh. Before we head into my personal favorite homeworld in Spyrothon, which is Dream Reavers. Which is sadly not really featured at all in any percent. So, if you really like Dream Reavers like me, you should run 120%. Because Dream Reavers has the best levels.
Are you ready to go?
A dragonfly only lives for 6 months. So that means a dragon goes through 2,000 dragonflies in their life. Because, you know, it's also a common fact that dragons live for 1,000 years. Damn. 2,000 dragonflies. That's a lot. Oops. Got a little close to that guy. Shouldn't matter too much, because in the next level it's very unlikely that you lose any other than intentional. Because 100 towers... I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like I usually don't lose health in this level. Yeah. I guess there's a reason why we collect so many dragonflies and Enter the Dragonfly. It's actually all those dragonflies you collect is just for one dragon. Like an entire life supply. So right here in this level, there's a bit of a gimmick to the level. Which is that there's a bunch of enemies you can only kill with the Super Flame. Which we get from these fairy kisses, like we saw earlier. And right here at the beginning of the level, the time you have to use the Super Flame is actually a lot more generous than it was in OG. So I'm actually able to, as you can see, break a lot of stuff on the way to this gate. And then make sure I get that 10 gem. So we can pick that up a lot faster when we get to the end, or back again. So right here, we're gonna do another 360 here with the Super Pad. In order to turn around, careful not to bump there. And then we can fly all the way here instead of having to run all the way around the castle, which you normally have to do there. But you can do a little 360 there. That's another trick that's a bit hard to learn. That one doesn't save as much time, so you might not want to learn it if you're just starting out. Could be something you implement a little later in your Spyro speedrunning career. So right here we actually have unlimited Super Flame now, or at least for the remaining of this level, because that fairy that just kissed us there had a different dress compared to the other fairies. And for that reason, she gives us more or unlimited Super Flame, because that's how it works. It depends on the dress. Which means we have unlimited Super Flame as long as don't die. And do a little damage abuse there, because it's faster than having to wait for it. No! Okay, that's bad. Okay, I actually ended up taking damage. Never mind. So I guess I have to do this long section here without sparks. Should be easy enough. As soon as I say that, I miss a gem. Because of course, that's the commentary curse. This is a good thing about the Reignited trilogy. If you have multiple butterflies at once, Sparks is just only gonna eat one of them, but get the effect of all the ones that are nearby. Whereas in the original game, you had to wait for each individual butterfly to replenish. And now we're just doing the backtrack here at the end. Oh, that guy almost jibaited me there with his little sidestep. And then we should have all the gems here. It should say 85. There we go. And then as soon as we pick up the last gem here, we're gonna again use the guidebook to fast travel back to the beginning of Dream Abyss, because that's a lot faster than having to go the intended route to get to the next level. So you can see after this loading screen here, we are right back at the beginning, and we are a lot closer to the next level, which is Dark Passage. And this is personally my favorite level in the entire run, and probably also my favorite level in Spyro 1, so I don't know why, I just really like this level. The most annoying thing about this remake, however, is that actually in Dark Passage here, because they changed the dogs here, you know, the devil dogs here, that change size. Instead of turning into very cute puppies when they're small, they now turn into these ugly mobs, which is the worst design decision Toys for Bob made. Because that was so good in the original game that when they weren't devil dogs, they were like these cute little puppers. But now they're just ugly. Can't hit that guy. And you can see here, this level also has the gimmick of enemies changing size depending on whether or not the fools are lit or not. I believe their name is actually Fools. I think somebody told me that at one point, that their official title is Fools, and I choose to believe them. And what I really like about this level is just how fast-paced it is. Because there's so many gems lying around that it just feels like you're always picking up gems. And there's so many enemies that you have to kill in different ways. And because of them changing size, you also have to think a little bit about your approach to them, depending on what cycle you're on. So I like these levels where it kind of makes you make sure you are on your toes during the level. That it's not just hitting the same buttons to get the same outcome. There's a little bit of reaction to it. And it's at 330, so we have all the gems. This is another level where it's very easy to lose a gem, so every time I reach a dragon, I look at the gem count to see if I have everything. Because also, if you miss a gem in this level, it's very annoying to backtrack. You also notice that these devils with the bows, that we're able to charge them. For some reason in this game they changed these devils so you can actually charge them to get the gems, whereas in the original game you could only... Oops. Where you could only flame them. And that's another bonk for good luck. And yes, I'm doing those bonks intentionally. Because like I said, I have my little superstition with this game. Now we're gonna make our way up to Icy Flight here, where we have to go up to this cannon in order to clear out 2 enemies at the door. This cannon can be quite annoying because you actually have to be quite precise in order to hit the thing you want with the cannon, because it just has a tendency to, like there, I was only slightly off, as you could see, but it still missed. So I just had to nudge it ever so slightly in order to get it to actually home in on the enemy I was aiming at. And I believe it is possible to bonk on that fireworks chest there, but every time I've tried it, I've always fallen off the edge. So that's why I don't do it on that particular one. So I'm not sure if I'm doing the angle completely wrong, but I believe it is possible to hit that chest and not fall down. This is gonna be the last flight level of the run, so... Because Nasty's World doesn't have a flight level. Unless you count Nasty's Loot, which I guess technically could consider a flight level. But the last one of these levels where we have to complete 4 objectives. And this level here is another one of these flight levels that are very cycle based. Not only with these choppers going up and down, but also getting the trains to line up. You'll also notice that I'm charging every now and then. Because when you charge in the flight levels, you can actually change direction quicker. You don't want to hit triangle to drop down. That was a sub 1. That's very good, by the way. But if you use square to charge, you can pick up your flight again. But if you press triangle, you can't pick up your flight again. So you're just gonna fall in the water if you do so. And it's just a lot easier way to do sharp turns on flight levels. And then straight into Lofty Castle. One of the levels that have a very beautiful soundtrack to it. Definitely one of my favorite soundtracks in all of Spyro. I guess we can get a question going here to chat since we have a lot of Spyro fans watching right now. Like, what are your guys' favorite Spyro song, music, whatever? Which level has the best music in all of Spyro? Let me see some answers in the chat. My personal favorite is probably... It's either Fireworks Factory or Nasty's Loot. I really like the soundtracks in those 2 levels. But Lofty Castle here also is very chill. This level also has a little bit of a gimmick, like the other Dream Reuse levels, because we have to free these fairies in order to get whirlwinds going. Almost forgot that guy. Chandra Edge, Blowhard, Autumn Plains, Sunny Beach, Frozen Altars. Nice. Oh yeah, and also Ripto has probably the best boss music in Spyro. Forgot to mention that. Got some very good music as well. And right here we're just gonna wait a sec to get that guy to line up with the cage. So we don't have to go around again. Right here you're gonna notice me going around the dragon and then hitting him. The reason why I pick up the stuff behind the dragon first is because of Spyro's, the way he walks. Also, you can do a charge jump here to just skip having to go around that circle. But the reason why I did that on that dragon is because when I hit that dragon, Spyro walks to a certain point during the cutscene. And since that point is behind me, if I were to pick up the dragon first, I would then have be further away from the next thing I needed to pick up. Whereas doing it first, I would be closer to the ramp behind me. So that is a very small time save you can do on most dragons, or on a good amount of the dragons, is knowing when to touch the dragon. Is it either before or after you pick up certain things? It's a thing you probably don't notice if you just watch her run, but there's a reason why certain dragons are picked up after you pick up some stuff behind them or to the side of them. And this guy should line up. Nice. And right here, of course, hit the cage before you go for the gems, so you don't have to wait for the fairies as long. And then we glide from up here, so we don't have to be in the whirlwind for too long when it gets activated. Again, small details, but they do add up if you do all of them. And then finish off the level here. You notice there are 3 fairies that are still encaged here. But because of the route we're doing, we actually don't have to free them. They get to stay locked up for all eternity. Because they're quite useless to us, so they can stay in the cages. And that's Lofty done. Whoa. I was very close to that guy knocking me out in the head. And into Shaxx, which is gonna be the boss world of Dreamweavers. So Elkjaer is a level that can be quite challenging on platforming because it has some precise jumps, especially when you're going fast. But another one of those levels where if you do everything correctly, it is very satisfying to play. Right here you can actually use this cake here with only having touched or flamed one of the fools, but I prefer to do both of them because whenever I try for the solo cake or one-step cake, whatever you want to call it, I feel like I always fail it, so I usually just play it safe and get both of the steps going. Right here is another example of a dragon we take out because Spyro walks backwards there during the cutscene, so it's faster to take him when we come from the other side. And also this whirlwind just works. You would think it was made by Bethesda or something. And that shack's done. And then notice here when I touch the dragon, the Spyro walks backwards. Which means after the cutscene here, that I'm closer to the staircase. Whereas if I'd hit them before Shax, I would be further away from Shax after the cutscene. Oops. Missed the gem up there. So there are just certain dragons you want to hit at a certain time to save that little bit of time, but again, if you do it on all of them, you end up saving a decent amount of time. Same with that one there, you want to break the box so Spyro picks, or Sparks picks it up during cutscene. So you can see all those small time saves on the dragons. Not something you would notice just from watching a run, but when you start thinking about it and start doing all of them in your runs, you'll eventually actually cut a good amount of time just by doing the simple things. It's all in the details. I'm actually not sure there at the end if it's possible to get a triple on those boxes. But that should be something to try out, I guess, at some point. And that ends Stream Reavers, so now there's only one homeworld left, which is Nasty's world. Are you ready to go?
Well, are you ready to go?
So Nasty's world, if you remember the dragon head from Toasty at the beginning of the run, there's going to be dragon heads for all of the levels here as well, except the... Which means they're only going to open once you have exited through a return home portal. So these levels, we don't have that freedom with the route to end the level whenever we want, because we have to go through the return home portal at the end. But luckily for us, these levels here, North Cove and Twilight Harbor, are both very linear levels, so I'm pretty sure if we could leave whenever we wanted to, it would still be faster to exit through the return home portal. So North Cove here has a lot of these barrels here that we're gonna use, because if we charge into them at the correct angle, we can launch them at enemies like that. And like that. And when you do it on those smaller guys, the gem actually homes in, so you don't have to go over there. Also, these barrels you also have to be quite precise with, because if you just miss them ever so slightly, they fly off in the wrong direction. Or sometimes they don't even fly at all. Like that one right there, I have to make sure I hit it correctly. Otherwise it flies way off to the side. If you're just off by ever. Or like the minor thing. Hello. I missed the chest. That's a nice little flick shot there. Where you do a 90-degree turn and then bonk on the barrel. I love these small flicks you can do in this game. Because they're so satisfying to pull off. A lot of things in Spyro is just satisfying to do. I'm sure people that have played Spyro can relate. I guess the best way to put it is just Spyro is such a satisfying game when you play well. Also, that guy always throws a barrel for no... throws without throwing a barrel there for no reason when you're into the room the first time. So right here you can see it again. If you throw a barrel into these guys, the gem from the other guy will home in. Oops, got a little too close to that guy. That's actually not good, because there's a damage abuse I would like to do, so... Oh. Wow. So here you can see the barrels just working as intended. So now that our blue sparks, I gotta be a little careful if I want to do this damage abuse on the fireworks chest here. Because it's very easy to take damage from the TNTs when you jump around that corner, because you can't really see where the TNTs are. And since we have blue sparks now, we can then do the damage abuse there to get all those gems. There's another flick shot. You also notice with those fireworks chests that when I bonk into them, I hit them at a specific angle. Because with the fireworks chest, as long as the angle you hit them with is the same angle that the game is gonna throw you back with. So that's why I try to hit the chest at the specific point so I get thrown in the direction I want to go. And now for the next level, which is gonna be Splatoon, or Twilight Harbor. Where there's a lot of enemies with these platoon guns. Or Splatoon guns, not Platoon. That's a way different movie. That's definitely not family friendly compared to Splatoon. Gotta be careful going around that corner, because that bomb can definitely throw you into the lava. So coming up here, you're gonna see me do some death abuses as well here, because we have to backtrack through this level twice. And in order to get back pretty fast, it's just a lot faster to death abuse. So you're gonna see here, as soon as I pick up these gems, gonna throw ourselves into the water. So we go back to the supercharge pad, because there's a middle box in the background there that we can only break with the supercharge. So we are gonna get back here and supercharge again. And then here towards the middle box, you want to do like a big U-turn here. Like that, so you can supercharge into the water and save a couple of frames instead of having to bonk and then run into the water. So if you can nail that super U-turn there, you can suicide a lot faster. And then the ending of the level here. It's just about killing all these enemies. Make sure you dodge all the paint or goo. And hit the pole. That was actually a pretty good Twilight Harbor. Oh yeah, that was a gold split. Nice. I just got a gold split by 0.3 seconds. I know you guys can't see my splits, but that was a gold. Now into Nasty Nog. And for those wondering, I'm actually on a low 146 pace. In case you are curious. If I do these last two levels perfectly, it could be a 145, which would be insane for a marathon run. So that would be like a 113, high 112 in game time, for those curious. I missed the thief, but don't worry, there's a backup. As long as you get all the gems and then turn the last corner pretty hard here. I missed it. But if you had turned the corner hard enough there, you could have hit him mid-air there. Wait, what am I doing? So you didn't have to run with him there. But I even messed up the backup there. But it's not that big of a deal. Oh, gotta remember these boxes, because see 79, so I did get all the gems. I was a little bit worried there. Right here with Nasty Nog, it is very important keep very good pace here, because Nasty runs a lot faster than he did in the original game here, so if you want to hit the one cycle, you kind of have to skip some of the gems here on the way in order to make it. And this should be good enough. The main reason why it's hard to keep up with Nasty there is, one, I'm not sure, I think he runs faster, but also in the original game he would also try to shoot one shot at you before you flamed him. In this game he just runs away immediately without shooting at you. So that's why it's harder to hit the one cycle in this game than it is, or impossible in this game compared to original. And now all we have to do is make some toast. So bring out the butter, boys and girls. And here's credit skip in the remastered game. You just press triangle. It's a lot more simple than the original. So yeah, credit skip. Woo! We just saved like 15 minutes. Because the credits are also a lot longer in this game. And that's all the gems, and we can jump into Nasty's loot. And by the way, the last dragon there, just like Nestor at the beginning of the game, no one can skip him. But again, if you are doing the upwards momentum there, you can skip him right away. Just like we did on Nestor. So right here, Nasty's loot, this is where we collect all the treasure. This is also the level where you get more and more flight height when you get these keys and unlock the doors. So let me see. That was perfect. And that thief. So in the remasters here, or reignited trilogy, your extra flight height or the more altitude unlocks as soon as the door is unlocked. Whereas in original game you had to go up the stairs physically before you got more altitude. But in this game you just have to unlock the doors before you can gain altitude. There's also a thing that was found by McCrody where you can Oh, messed that up. Gonna use the fan chest on that guy. But Macrody found a way to unlock the flight limit at the very beginning of this level, which actually works in every game that has a flight limit. But I don't personally use that strat in runs because I am very bad at it, and having a strat like that at the very end of the run is just very annoying because it loses a lot of time if you're not good at it. Oh. I'm sure all the people that run Spyro 2 any percent can attest to how annoying it is to break the flight limit at the very end of a run. I'm sure they have the experience with that. And right here is the last hard part on the run, is to hit this plane. Make sure you don't touch the wall, and then I missed. The plane went that way. Gonna have to go this way around to get him to go the normal way, I think. Nope. I guess we're chasing him backwards. I think I was too high there, so the plane turned around. Oh well, messed that thing up. And a very annoying thing in this game is the plane here actually rubber bands away from you. So it doesn't matter how well you do that flight action, he's always gonna get away. And you're not allowed to flame him until the very end. So yeah, that's a very painful way to lose a lot of time at the very end of a run, is messing up that plane. I know that plane there is actually the reason why the 120% record is not sub 110 yet in game time, is because Chris in his world record actually missed that plane, which definitely cost him the sub 110. So feels bad, man, for Chris. And by the way, time is coming up. As soon as I jump into the portal and the game fades to black, that's gonna be time. But at the end here, we have the very satisfying purple gem room here. And I only had blue sparks going in, so I could only bonk once. But that's all the gems, and as soon as we go black screen here, that's time. And we can see the in-game time right after the final cutscene here. So, and on my personal splits, it was a 146.55. But I can see on the stream he split slightly early, so it's a 54. So take that as you will. Well, let's see what the in-game time is. So 146, I did not expect that. Most of my practice runs this week was 147s, so it's nice to get a 146 this run.
And I felt that Nasty, in spite of his misguided nature, was a worthy opponent.
And thanks for all the GGs, guys. Appreciate it.
We go again.
Alright, let's see what the in-game time is, because everybody cares about in-game time for some reason. By the way, run the game on PC so you don't have to worry about in-game time. Just my pro tip. 113.57, that is actually quite good. Not to flame anyone, but if this run was done on PC, that would be a world record by 6 minutes. But yeah, hopefully some people on PC picks up the torch from where console left off and improves the 120% time soon. Because I would like to see the 120% time on PC get a lot faster. Because I know it can be a lot faster. So hopefully somebody will do that soon. But yeah, that was a really good run, and I guess this was the first run of this little relay we have here at Spyrothon, where I just did full completion Spyro run, and up next is full completion of Spyro 2 by Jumpy. So stay tuned for that. And other than that, I don't really have much more to say. Enjoy the rest of the marathon, guys.